We're rolling.
Well, good afternoon and good evening. This is Dyanne Klinko from Backstage Past Presents, and I have a great friend of mine that we're going to talk to today, Andrew Colyer. Andrew, hello.
Hi, Diane. Hi, everybody.
How are you today?
I am well, and it's a beautiful sunny day here in New York, and we don't get the sun always, and there are no lights on in this room. It's so
That's,
bright from just the sunshine, and we even have the blinds pulled. So, but
wow.
yeah, I'm so jealous for you living in California. I would love to live in California.
4 miles from the most
Oh
amazing beach and pier.
man.
And they're catching everything from stingrays that are over 50 and 60 pounds
Wow.
to they do the night fishing where they're after the short fin mako shark,
Huh?
and they're after a hammerhead if they're lucky. That's very rare. But the other shark that is real popular, I'm trying to think of the name of it, but the mako is the big catch because they're a fighter. They'll jump out of the water and they'll really, really make you work. And that could be a 2.5 hour event of trying to pull them in. And so it's very sporting.
That's awesome.
So tell me something. I understand, of course, that you have several questions that have been sent over to you, which I'll be anxious to get to. But first, I think it would be great to have you talk about the different instruments that you play and give a kind of introduction as to what you do, and we can go from there.
Okay. So you know what? As part of answering that question, let me give you a little bit of background about myself, because some people know who I am and some people have no idea who I am.
Absolutely.
Why are you interviewing
Absolutely.
me on this ELP Titans of Prague website? So my name is Andrew Colyer, and for some people have a hard time pronouncing my last name because of the spelling. So I always say to people, think call your mom, think call your dog, and then say Andrew Colyer, and then you'll get it right. So, and
Perfect.
you gotta write
Colyer.
it. So I was a professional musician at a young age, and
What age was that?
well, I started playing the piano when I was 3. So I started when I was 3. And I started singing and playing the trumpet also at a very young age. My first I don't know, my first recital, I was probably 5 or 6. And the first time I started singing in public was probably 7, 8, 9 or 10, fourth grade. I had the lead in like the school play playing Santa Claus. And I was really skinny, so they had to give me a pillow to try to make me larger. So that was fun.
No,
And yeah.
I don't mean to interrupt, but did your parents give you a lot of influence to start this musical training at such an early age?
My mom started taking me for piano lessons because she taught me how to read by the time I was 3. And then we found a teacher who said, well, I've never had somebody this young, but since he can read, we'll try it. And he was a great guy. He was really a jazz teacher at the local college. And so I started with him. And so anyway, I did a lot of music, trumpet, voice, piano, all throughout high school. I started playing for churches in the 5th grade. I started playing for weddings in the 7th grade. I started playing bars and restaurants, at 14 when I got a freshman in high school. And I did that all throughout college and my early 20s, and I was a DJ. And I really wanted to go to Berklee College of Music, and actually, but my family was not supportive. I come from a medical family, so they were not supportive of me pursuing music as a career. So I wound up majoring in classical piano performance and pre-med in college on the 5-year plan. So, college was still, even though I could play rock and I did a little bit of jazz and plenty of pop stuff. I could listen to anything on the radio and play it, but it was mostly, Rachmaninoff and Chopin and Beethoven and Liszt and Bach and, those kinds of things.
Same as ELP started out too with all the classical music, and then kind of merged from there. So you're right in there with them.
Yeah. So my parents, I really wanted to go to Berklee College of Music, but my parents didn't support that. So I put music, I would say I would put it on a back burner on simmer for over 20 years.
Wow.
And while my life went in another direction, and I always had my hand in it, I always wanted to do it. And I was, the musician part of me was very depressed for over 20 years, even though other parts of my life were okay. But that part of me was, my soul was really not happy. And then in 2011, we'll just say that we took music career from the back burner and moved it to the front burner and turned it up on high, because I just got to a point where that part of me, I could no longer deny that part of myself. And I was depressed, and I thought, you know what? I'm not going to my deathbed not having really, really tried, really do it. Like, I'm going to do it. I don't even know what it is, but I'm going to do it. So
good for you. Good for you, Andrew. I think music is born into your soul, and I think that once it's in there, it's a passion that you can't ignore. And even if you put it on the back burner, it's always there. And whether you're singing or playing an instrument, it's calling you all the time. And it's hard to ignore. And I agree with you. I think you get to a point where enough thinking about it. I'm going to do something about it.
It was
good for you.
Oh, thank you. It was a real snapping point for me. And in fact, I had a friend of mine, actually a composition teacher, said to me, she said, I think if you really have a calling to be an artist and you don't do it, it creates mental illness. And I can say that
I agree.
Me, it was bad. That was bad. And then you just get tired of complaining. You get tired of yourself complaining. And I thought, you know what? For me, I thought, I'm going to live those years anyway. I already know. What's funny is that life is about joy and suffering. And I'm either going to have the suffering of trying to start a career in my 40s, or I'm going to have the suffering of never tried, of never having done it, of not doing anything, continuing to not do anything, complaining about it all the time. And I already did that for over 20 years. So I already know what's going to happen if I don't do anything. So at least if I'm doing something, at least, and there's suffering involved, at least I'll be the suffering of trying to make something happen.
I love it. I absolutely love how your mind is thinking. So excellent, absolutely excellent.
So I just jumped in and started doing one thing. I did something else and something else, and things kind of started happening. And along the way, I met Robert Berry, and I developed my relationship with him over time. And then, he called me. And as you probably know, if you're watching this video, Robert was with Keith Emerson and Carl Palmer in the 80s.
Yeah.
And they did the 3 album. They did a North American tour. They came home. They started on a second record. And then for a lot of reasons, they broke up. Keith and Robert got back together 30 years later in 2015, 2016, started working on the follow-up album. Tragically, Keith passed away. Yeah. Robert finished the record, released it in August of 2018 on the Frontiers label. It went to #1 on Amazon. It sold out in 5 countries on the first day. And then Robert needed to tour the album. And he, by the grace of God, fortunately, he called me to fill in for Keith because Keith's, not available. So I feel very fortunate. I feel very grateful. I just want to say up front that Keith is one of the greatest keyboard players in the history of rock music. And if he were still alive, I would not have the job. I really felt like I was just filling in because he was not available. So Robert called me. I'm looking at a calendar if you want to look at it. Robert called me in March of 2018 before the album came out because he knew he was going to want to tour it. And we had some, we were trying to launch in the fall of 2018, and we had some management issues. So because of changing management and scheduling and whatnot,
Sure.
we didn't tour until the fall of 2019, and we did 29-date North American tour, which is awesome. And
I was there.
you were there. That was great. And
I was there in San Pedro, and what a show! You know, you actually made me cry when I heard the intro to Carnival 9. That intro made me immediately close my eyes because you're playing right there. I mean, everything is just like Keith. And I closed my eyes and I felt like I was back in 1970. And that I was hearing Keith and thinking about Keith. And when the band started going, I had my eyes open, of course, by then, but I still was full of tears because you and the 3.2 band that Robert was, yes, the rules have changed, and that was with Robert Berry. And you guys, your timing is just so on point, and you really have your act together, and you are so talented on your keyboard that you absolutely blew my mind. And I was so just in awe watching you guys play. I couldn't get enough. I can't wait to see you guys come back and do some more tours so that you can come to Southern California.
Well, we plan to come back, you know, as if you're watching this live or on the replay at the time of this video filming, the world is kind of on lockdown from the coronavirus COVID situation.
Right.
And we had some tour dates lined up for this year, but they've been rescheduled for the future. So we plan to come back to the West Coast. I think we're going to be doing some of those dates with Big Big Train.
Okay. Can you explain Big Big Train? Because I'm sure there are a lot of our members that are not familiar with that, because that was a UK band, correct?
Correct. They've been around about 20 years. And for lots of reasons, they never toured internationally, but they've developed quite a large fan base. So they did some touring in Europe, but they always mostly play in England, and they've developed quite a following around the world. And they're a large, 11 people, 13 people. It's a big band, but they're amazing. They're fantastic. I could go on and on, but they're really great. So for the first time, they were finally going to come to the United States this year, and we were going to do a bunch of shows with them. They were going to play at Rozfest, but you know, with everything being closed. So those shows have all been rescheduled for the future, either 2021, maybe 2022. We're not sure when everything will come back, but we will be back, and we will be back. Some shows with them, some by ourselves. We have European tour dates that are also being rescheduled. That'll be, as far as I know, it was England, France, Germany, Italy, maybe the Netherlands. We have some things in the Midwest scheduled. So we will definitely be back. And right now, Robert Berry.
Oh, hang on.
Oh.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
I took my earbuds out.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. So right now, Robert Berry is still working on the next 3.2 album, which will be the third 3.2 album, and that will be out, I believe, the tentative date, because of the lockdown situation. They were going to release it this year, but I think they're going to hold back until maybe January of next year, and then tie that into some tours and, you know, whatever, and there'll be some video releases and whatnot. So there's more music coming. You know, we appreciate everyone listening and coming out to the shows and watching videos, and thank you for watching this video, and can't wait to see you in person again. Oh, can you put your earbuds? I've lost your audio. Are you? Can't hear you. You were fine until you took your earbuds out. I can't hear you. I'm gonna pause the recording. Should I pause the recording? I'm gonna hit pause.